Coming up on this episode of the Enough Already podcast, Fingers' harrowing journey to Target to buy Easter candy last minute, and why you can't buy beer on Sundays in Indiana. Then it's on to Bernie Sanders needs to tone it down, says Hillary's camp. This coming from the woman that smeared the hell out of Obama in 2008. Yeah, right, we're not buying it, Hildo. Then it's time for Ash Kicking with Ashe Schow from the Washington Examiner and New York Observer. She's got an update on everybody's favorite rape hoaxer, Jackie, from the UVA scandal. Then Jersey, what is up with your gun laws? You would think after the Shaneen Allen incident, you guys maybe would have changed stuff, loosen it up a little bit. But nah. You didn't learn a thing. Then our good pal Carol Roth from CNBC drops by to tell us about her brand new gig, being a judge on Mark Burnett's latest reality competition series, America's Greatest Makers. All right, enough already. It's time for the show. Okay, Fingers, tell me, how many children did you trample at the Easter egg hunt on Sunday?
Egg hunt is a really hard word, 2 words to couple together and say really fast.
Egg hunt?
Yeah.
You mean it almost sounds kind of filthy?
Right.
I gotcha. Well, how many children did you trample at the Easter egg hunt?
I didn't trample anyone at the Easter egg hunt, but you know what I did? I waited until the very last minute to get Easter stuff for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the local Meyer Thrifty Acres here in central Indiana. It's kind of like a Walmart superstore, but a step up, maybe like a super Target. You ever go to the super Target?
Yes.
The super Target. So I waltz in there at 7:30 p.m. the day before Easter, expecting to find stuff to put in the Easter basket.
Wah, wah.
No chocolate bunnies. I mean, you gotta have a chocolate bunny in your Easter basket, right?
Sure.
So I had to get the second best thing, and this is an insult to chocolate, but white chocolate.
Okay.
Do you like white chocolate?
It's decent.
Yeah, so I had to get white chocolate bunnies. No chocolate bunnies there, but they had like 7,000 white chocolate bunnies.
Wow.
So, apparently the white chocolate bunny is the redheaded stepchild of candy.
Who would have guessed?
So
I think white chocolate's pretty good. It doesn't taste anything like chocolate.
No, it doesn't, but I think it's good.
Yeah.
And of course, the only thing that was left, let me give you the island of misfit candies. Black licorice.
Ugh.
There was tons of black licorice there. Purple Peeps.
Okay. All Peeps taste the same.
I know.
So I don't know why we're being selective by colors, but okay.
The yellow Peeps were gone. The pink Peeps were gone, but there were plenty of purple Peeps.
No one's a big pink, purple Peeps eater.
Apparently, people draw the line at purple.
Unbelievable.
Do you? See, I'm a fan of Peeps. Do you like?
They're
Peeps?
good when they're stale.
I hear people say that, and I've tried them stale, and I'm not a fan.
They have to be crunchy. You get them a little bit crunchy on the outside. It's delicious. But I would never purposely go out and be like, I need a Peep right now.
Yeah, it's not something that it's not like Girl Scout cookies.
Right.
Keep Peeps in the freezer and pull them out in August. So they're the Peeps. And then there were these weird, they weren't Cadbury eggs. They were like off-brand Cadbury eggs. They looked disgusting. There were tons of those.
Did you buy them or did you pass them up?
No, I passed them up. They got the white chocolate bunnies. They got purple Peeps. I did find bags of jelly beans. So I got jelly beans. And then I went into the candy aisle, the bulk candy aisle, and I just loaded up on bulk candy.
So you just treated it like Halloween.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And then the other bad part about it too is, you know how they always have like these Easter egg kits where you can dye eggs. Those were all gone. They had this one thing. It was called Easter egg piñatas.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Where, and I don't even know how this works, but you're supposed to, after the egg is cooked, there's a little tool that you can cut into the egg and get rid of the yolk, and then fill it with confetti.
This sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
For a tiny little, you're turning an egg into a mini piñata is what you're telling me.
Right.
Okay. See, I was picturing an egg-shaped piñata.
No, this is a hard-boiled egg that you turn into some sort of confetti spewing breakfast food that nobody's going to touch.
And it's never going to work the way that it's supposed to work on the box.
I mean, who's going to do that? Who wants to do that? I mean, who wants to eat an egg once you have paper that was cut in China and dyed with whatever kind of funky paper dye that they use in China, and put that in your egg, and then you're going to eat it?
Well, you're not going to eat it. You took everything out of the middle of it. There's nothing to eat. It's just a shell.
You don't eat egg whites?
Well, you take that out before you put the paper in.
No, you just take the yolk out.
What?
Yeah.
I don't understand this at all.
It's a whole crazy thing, and it's way too many steps for especially by the time I got back from Meijer. It was something like I got the kids dyeing eggs at like 1:15 a.m. on Easter.
Oh my God! Just buy the little plastic ones.
Yeah, well, they used to have shake and egg. You remember shake and egg?
No.
Oh God,
is that like shake and bake?
That's exactly what it was. You would take the hard-boiled egg. And you would put a bunch of color crystals in this bag, different colors or whatever, or you could be all the same if you're boring. And the egg is damp. You put it in this bag and you shake it, and then when you pull it out, all the colored crystals make it look like some kind of hippie hard-boiled egg.
So basically, you could just cover an egg in glue and then stick it in a bag of glitter and have the same effect.
Well, yeah, but then you'd have to. Don't you eat the eggs after you're done coloring them?
I don't remember. I haven't done this since, I don't know, I was 12.
Oh.
Maybe? I don't know. So I have no recollection of this.
That was a disaster. So then I bought a washer and dryer.
Okay.
And I bought
during the same shopping trip?
Earlier in the day, I bought a washer and dryer, and I bought it at one of the giant home improvement centers. It's a chain. I won't mention their name. But they were delivering on Easter.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was nice. So I get this washer and dryer. I'm waiting, and they give you the window. We'll be here between noon and 4. That's when we'll be there, between noon and 4. Like, okay, great. 12 o'clock, nothing. 1 o'clock, nothing. 2 o'clock, nothing. 3 o'clock, I get a phone call. We're going to be there. We still have 4 deliveries ahead of you. It's like, wow. What? It's 3 o'clock on Easter. Yeah, I know. It's been a day. Okay. Hangs up the phone. They show up an hour later. No, actually an hour and 45 minutes later, excuse me. So it's at this point, it's 4:45. Been waiting all day for this damn washer and dryer. He goes to plug the dryer in. I'm king of the out of box. The items that are out of box, I'm the king of finding those and getting a great deal. Mm-hmm. So I got a washer and dryer. It was like $300 off sale price because it was out of the box. Well, the previous owner had connected the power cord to the dryer, and this guy didn't think anything of it. The cord was connected. He goes to plug it in. Sparks start shooting out of the back of the thing. The whole house
and the whole time you're thinking, I'm getting a free dryer now. I'm getting a free dryer now.
Exactly. Well, what happened was, when you connect the dryer cord to the dryer, there are 3 wires that are connected to the dryer, the positive, the negative, and the ground. Somebody took the screws out of the negative cord, or the negative wire, and the ground wire, and they were touching each other as he plugged it in.
Oh, dude, did he get electrocuted?
No, he didn't. But like I said, that like sparks flew everywhere, and it cut the breaker. Wow. So what should have been a 25-minute maneuver turned into an hour and a half extravaganza of them having to go back and forth to to Lowe's to get the right screws, and finally that all got straightened out, and I have a new washer and dryer on Easter. But the other thing that's been bothering me, I've got this pain in my head, Tracy, and this has been bothering me for now. It's going on 5 days.
I thought you said this started like 2 days ago.
It started Friday, and
okay,
today is Tuesday. Wink, wink.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm a huge hypochondriac, right?
Correct.
I've got this pain about an inch from my ear, my left ear, the side of my skull, towards the back of my skull. And it's going down into my neck. Whenever I touch my head, it hurts. It hurts like somebody took like somebody galoolied me on the side of the head, you know? Took a pipe or a bat or something, but nobody hit me on the side of the head. It feels like it's bruised. And I'm trying, you know, so I'm sitting and think, why the hell does my head hurt like that? And then I'm starting to think about, I'm coupling it with how my vision has gone really bad in the last year and a half, and particularly in the last week. It feels like my eyes have gone to complete shit. So blurred vision, pain in the back of the head, means only one thing, right, Tracy?
Brain tumor.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So what do I do? Do I go to the doctor, or do I continue to look at WebMD and self-diagnose myself?
Right, and give yourself panic attacks?
Yes.
I would do neither. I'd wait a day or two. Don't look at WebMD.
No?
Quit Googling.
I've got rickets. It says I've got rickets, Tracy. I didn't know that there was a head pain involved with rickets, but apparently I've got rickets.
I had no idea. I didn't know what rickets were. I've heard the term, but had no clue what it entailed.
I've got scurvy.
I don't think so.
No. But I'm terrified. I mean, you got something in the back of your head. It hurts. Then brain tumor.
You have muscles in there. It's possible that you pulled one.
Pulled a muscle in my head?
Well, there's a muscle that runs up your shoulder blade on your neck. Haven't you ever pulled?
Wouldn't you think it would get better after 5 days?
Maybe, but it could also be stress induced to begin with.
But what am I stressed out about?
Everything.
Sparks flew out of the back of the dryer, Tracy.
Right. And then you're like, I lost my vision. So you're freaking out about that.
I can't see.
Right. Even with your iPhone set to have everything in 75 font, you can't read it.
It may as well be Braille, the setting I've got on my phone right now. The font is so huge. Everybody who sees it makes fun of me.
Yeah, you can read one line of a text at a time.
It's like I got a jitterbug phone.
Pretty much.
If Jitterbug came out with a smartphone, that's what. You ever want a phone, but the numbers are too small? Jitterbug. The damn thing. It's like you said, maybe one line of text you can read at a time because the font setting is that big. And I had 20/20 vision as a year ago, and everything's gone to shit. And now I've got a headache that won't go away.
Did you take anything for it?
I've been taking ibuprofen. That seems to help.
Oh, okay.
I should look at WebMD to see if you have pain brought on by a brain tumor, if ibuprofen helps. And if it doesn't help, then I know it's not a brain tumor. Do you think they get that specific on WebMD?
Yes.
They do?
But here you go. I just Googled stress, pain in neck. The first thing that comes up is from Everyday Health. It says most of us are familiar with emotional stress causing headaches. We even have a name for it, a tension headache. Stress also has a physical effect on the muscles in your neck. As you tense up, the tightness in your neck muscles contributes to neck pain.
So I've got a neck tumor?
Basically, have you not been drinking?
No.
There you go.
Oh, here's another funny thing about the whole delivery guy dilemma. They kept talking about I've got a couple of cool beer signs as you walk in from the garage, a couple of Guinness signs. And they're talking about how much they love beer and everything. And I really don't drink much beer anymore. I've switched over to bourbon.
Sure.
So I wanted to offer them a beer, as they left, like, hey, take this for after the shift or whatever. And I looked in my refrigerator, and the only thing I had cold last summer, we had some family over, And we bought Bud Light Lime.
Oh,
Yeah.
were your family visiting from Jersey?
So I look at the Bud Light Lime and I was like, God, they're going to think I'm such a pussy if I pull these Bud Light Limes. Hey, you want a beer? Yeah, you got one? The hell is that?
So you just aborted the whole mission?
Yeah, I didn't want them to look at me and say, did you pull those out of your vagina?
Right. Well, and you can't buy beer on Sunday in Indiana, right? So they were screwed.
Don't get me started on that.
I know.
The Republican Party in Indiana. They're a complete piece of shit organization, the Republican Party of Indiana. They can get, if you are a Christian conservative and you want something pushed, yep, they'll get it. No problem. What do you need? Well, we can get that bill passed. But if you want to be able to buy a 6-pack of beer at a grocery store in Indiana on a Sunday, oh, it's too difficult to get the bill passed. Oh, we just can't do it. Can't do it. Oh, but you can pass bills that are controversial regarding abortion and religious freedom and all this stuff, but you can't pass a damn bill that will allow me to go buy a decent 6-pack on a Sunday in Indiana.
And that they're going to get the tax on top of that.
Right. But see, they're in the pocket of the liquor lobby here.
Okay.
All these liquor stores, they sell as much liquor as they would in 7 days in 6 because most people know that they have to load up.
So the liquor stores are closed on Sunday too?
Yes.
Okay.
You can't. The only place you can get a drink is at a bar or restaurant on Sunday in Indiana.
Now, can you buy 6-packs at a bar on a Sunday?
No.
Oh.
No.
So they're there, but you can't buy them.
Right. You cannot get any packaged liquor on a Sunday in Indiana.
That's just mad. Well, we had that here until, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe. And you still, you can't buy beer anywhere but a beer distributor or a bar.
That's ridiculous too.
So they've kind of loosened it a little bit. They're doing some experiments on this. I'm serious. This is how they build this. We're experimentally getting into some high-end supermarkets with craft beers and maybe wines, but no liquor. You have to go to the state-owned liquor store that's closed on, guess what? Every federal holiday. So if you want to buy booze on 4th of July, good luck. It's not happening. And those guys that work at the cash register there make, I think, $50,000 a year. They're union.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
No joke.
A cashier makes $50,000 a year.
They might start at 35.
Oh my God.
Still, I mean, toll booth workers make more. And I don't know if you guys have tolls in Indianapolis.
Yes, we do. We don't have tolls in Indianapolis, but 80/90, which runs across most of the country, I think. In Indiana, it's a toll road. So
wow.
At certain points, especially around the Chicago area, you have to pay the tolls.
Well, what does it cost to go from one end of the state to the other? Do you remember?
No, I do what I can. I've never had to go across Indiana in the northern part of the state. So it may be like $2 or $3 around Chicago to get through that whole area.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah. It's nothing crazy.
Oh, dude. From one end of Pennsylvania to the other is nuts. It might even be $40.
You gotta be kidding me.
No, and they keep raising it. And this is to take the turnpike. So that runs from Jersey on the one end to Ohio at the other. And if you're going to go Pittsburgh to Philly, that's the way to do it. It's pretty much a straight shot. And when I went out to Cleveland, that's how I went. And I think my toll was $23 or $24.
Oh, my God.
And then it was like, go another 5 feet and then you have to pay a toll to get into Ohio. Like there was one point where it was literally like maybe I went 3 or 4 miles and it was another $4 toll after I just paid $25.
That's what's so maddening about toll roads. I've noticed that when one time I drove from Indianapolis to Milwaukee and I had to hit all the tolls around Chicago and heading up to Wisconsin. And you know, what I do like about the turnpike system in Ohio is you get on the road, and then once you get off, that's when you pay the toll.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not this. Everybody has
every 10 feet.
Yeah, everybody has to come to a screeching halt in 2 miles to give them 68 cents to go down the next 3 miles of road before we hit you up for 72 cents. It's absolutely insane. And I guess I can see where that's a nice scam too, because then they if you don't want to stop every 3 miles, you get their little easy pass where you can zip through on the left-hand side and you pay, whatever it is a month to just have access to the highway.
Right, but they screw you, right? I told you about the one time I got a ticket. I think it was from the Delaware toll booth that said I didn't pay. And this is all adjudicated by Easy Pass, mind you. This is not the state of Delaware. This is nothing. So they sent me a picture that said you didn't pay your toll.
Yeah.
And I had paid it in cash. I didn't have Easy Pass at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And
you kept your receipt, right? I mean, we all
no, because it wasn't a business. It was normally I do, but it wasn't a business thing. So I was like, oh, who cares? It's $4 done. Here you go. And they send you a picture with your license plate in it and then a wider of your car.
Right.
And I'm like, wait. So these people are telling me that I sped through a toll. But like you could see the car is stopped. Like you would see a motion blur.
Yeah.
So the stopped and you can see my arm in there. So I was like, what did I do? So I wrote them a letter because now not only do I owe them the $4 that I already paid them, but they wanted me to pay them another $30 or something for blowing this toll. So I wrote them a letter and I was like, look, you can see my arm out the window. So what you're telling me is that I rolled up, came to a full stop, stuck my arm out, and then did what? Give the person in the booth the finger? And not the $4 that I owed them? Like, this is insane. And they're just like, I get a letter back. We looked this over and we still believe that you didn't pay up now.
Well, of course.
And if you don't, we're going to court.
I'm sure that they got their best people on that.
Oh, right. I'm like, you would think that I wish I had taken a picture of this letter because I was like, you would think that it would occur. The person in the toll booth would have been irate and would remember this. So I say that you should probably get in touch with them because I would love to hear their version of this story. Unbelievable. I was so furious. And this apparently happens all the time because I Googled it. And there's nothing
basically,
you can do.
The best thing you can do in this situation from now on is have a filing cabinet.
Yeah.
With a file just for that year's tolls and the receipts that you get. Who gets a receipt at a toll booth?
I do.
Really?
Sometimes I do. Yeah. If you're going to expense it, sure. Now I have an Easy Pass. I don't. And the other thing you always have to do, and these bastards on the Atlantic City Expressway did this to me one night, is you have to count your damn change. Because I gave them a 10 and it's a $4 toll.
Jeez.
Yeah, you better believe I got back 5 ones and I didn't realize it until I'm 2 miles down the road. And I was like, these bastards are probably skimming $1 here and there.
Oh, sure.
Why not? What can you do?
I got a pain in the back of my head, Tracy.
Oh, my God.
It's not going away.
I'm sorry about that.
Brain tumor.
Absolutely. I have no doubt about it.
You know who else who has a pain in her head?
You mean the one that fell down and went boom on her head? Had to wear those special glasses for a while?
Looked like Harry Carey?
Bye-bye baseball. That's what he said, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what. Well, I don't know if he said bye-bye baseball.
I thought
it was holy cow. Holy cow.
Oh, okay. Did Farley ever play him?
I don't think so. That's a Will Ferrell thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Will Ferrell does a Harry Carey. That's spot on. I mean, he even does the head twitch, like Katharine Hepburn, the whole thing.
Right.
Got the shakes. Shake, rattle, and roll.
Oh, we're such good people.
It's true. So Hillary Clinton,
you
pulled up a story. Well, there are 2 stories that we could talk about when it comes to Hillary, and they both kind of tie in together, obviously. Apparently, her campaign says, and Trump's pulling the same thing, and basically says, look, I'm not going to debate anymore because I'm the front runner, and why should I debate? Till I have nothing, nothing can happen but bad things for me if I continue to debate. Hillary, because apparently she still wants these Bernie supporters to eventually support her, so she can't come across as too arrogant. Or I don't look. I don't know what's going through her head because what am I pretending? I got to worry about my own head and what's going through my head, let alone what's going through her head. But now she's saying she will not debate Bernie because of his tone.
Yeah, he's got to tone it down. I guess. I mean, they allude to in this Hill article, which has one of her spokes idiots on television explaining this. They're saying, I guess he's running negative ads somewhere and he had promised not to do that. And so this is, enough to say, no, we're not going to have a debate in New York. And that's what Bernie has called for. He wants to have another debate in New York ahead of that primary. And so they're pulling this phony, well, he needs to change his tone stuff. And if you've paid any attention to politics in the last decade, like you should be doubled over belly laughing at that. They seem to be operating under this impression that people don't have access to Google. I'm serious. I know that she's technologically pretending to be totally inept at this stuff, but millennials get it. And I actually saw a clip over the weekend of like millennials from Bernie campaign, like talking about how they'll never vote for Hillary. And one of the things they kept saying is like, we have Google, like we've looked up her stuff. We know what she did. So all you have to do is Google Clinton attacks Obama 08. And the first thing that came up for me was a New York Times piece from February 26th of 08. The headline is Clinton campaign starts 5-point attack on Obama.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is fun. Let's take a little walk down attack lane, shall we? It talks about how they put out that picture of him wearing like the traditional, I think it was like Pakistani garb or something like this, where he had the head wrap on.
Yeah,
and
I remember
they did that. And they were so funny.
Wait a minute, they dug up that
yeah.
image of him?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is from the middle of this article. It says the attack that received the most pop on cable television and blogs came after a photograph of Mr. Obama in ceremonial African garb. Sorry, African, not Pakistani. But he did go to Pakistan. Remember, that was the thing when Americans weren't allowed there. Anyway, ceremonial African garb appeared on the Drudge Report. And the item's author, Matt Drudge, claimed that the image was provided by a Clinton staff member. Next paragraph, because this gets better. Mr. Obama's campaign manager, David Plouffe, who we all remember, said that the Clinton campaign had, quote, engaged in the most shameful, offensive fear-mongering we've seen from either party. So it's not been independently verified that the photograph came from the Clinton campaign. Because, of course, they wash their hands of all of this stuff. So this is my favorite part of all of this. Because this is Clinton to a T, right? This is what they do. So Clinton's new campaign manager, Maggie Williams, recently appointed to bring a tougher hand to the operation, issued a withering reply, not taking responsibility for the photograph, but attacking the Obama campaign for suggesting that the photograph amounted to fear-mongering imagery. You ready for this?
Uh-huh.
Enough, Mrs. Williams' statement began. If Barack Obama's campaign wants to suggest that a photo of him wearing traditional Somali clothing is divisive, they should be ashamed. Hillary Clinton has worn the traditional clothing of countries she's visited and had those photographs published widely. This is nothing more than an obvious and transparent attempt to distract from the serious issue confronting our country today and to attempt to create the very divisions they claim to decry. We will not be distracted. How amazing is that?
Two things are striking about this story. The first is, going back to what you said about how, and Democrats get away with this because we have a media that is corrupt and in the tank for the Democratic Party. They can pretend in a lot of ways that Google doesn't exist and get away with it.
Sure.
But they can't do that if the person that they're attacking is pretty much the poster boy for the hopes and dreams of millennials.
Right.
Because they know Google. Okay? They know about Google. The second thing that strikes me about this story is we're late March in the primary season. And this is the first I've heard of an attack ad by Bernie Sanders.
Right.
Dude, and I think you've brought this up before.
Dude,
yeah. Quit being a pussy, okay? You're a socialist.
You're a socialist revolutionary. You keep telling us, I want a revolution, but I'm not going to throw any punches, even rhetorical ones. Give me a break. You're not serious. But this is just laughable. So there's a whole, the Bernie people, just to show you how much they love Google and the internet, have now trending on Twitter, toned down for what? Making fun of, I believe that was like the Rock the Vote 2012 campaign was turnout for what?
Okay.
I think there was some video of like Michelle Obama dancing and like Little John and Lena Dunham in voting booths. And so they've taken that whole deal and rebranded it as an anti-Hillary attack. And she's really got some balls. I mean, Bernie whooped her ass last week.
Yeah.
He won 5 out of 6 contests. And there's so much freak out and tinfoil hatting. And I love all of this, mind you, from the Bernie camp.
Of course.
That she was involved in voter suppression and voter fraud. And like, this is amazing. Maricopa County in Arizona went somewhere from like 200 something polling places down to 60 something. So they had lines of like 5+ hours to vote.
Wow.
And somehow Hillary's involved in this. I don't know how she got involved. Maybe the DNC at the local level. And I don't know why you consolidate 200 down to 60. Like that seems ridiculous, especially when it's the most populated county in the entire state.
Right.
But,
was it a caucus or was it a primary?
No, that was a primary.
Okay.
That was the only primary, I believe. All the rest were caucuses. So he's won in every caucus state. And unfortunately for him, there's only one more caucus, I believe. And that's this coming, when was that? Next week, maybe. So there's no primaries this week.
I wish they would totally shit can the whole caucus idea. It's crappy. You know, I get that. It'll bring more citizen involvement in the process. It's a time drag. You know, just let people walk in, fill out a ballot, and leave. And I know you can do that with caucuses, but
sometimes they do multiple rounds of voting too.
Yeah.
No, it sounds like a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And I don't know how people can sit there and tell us with straight faces that we need to have a month long of early voting, and then yet other states can have a primary, which is only a window of a couple hours you have to be present for the whole time.
Yeah.
Like there's no consistency in this whole thing. But I just hope he keeps rolling her. And if this is her posture, I really feel like this is some kind of setting this up for the future so she can, if she gets a nomination, which I think is pretty much inevitable, but say Trump gets the nomination too, she can play this tone game BS and try to get out of general election debates. And say, I'm not showing up to debate Trump if he's going to keep up with that tone. I'm not even going to dignify it with my presence. Yet I can negotiate with, maniacal dictators all over the world because that's fine. And they know how to keep in line. They're on the best of behavior and they treat me with respect. Give me a break.
There were 6 states that had primaries and caucuses over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie won 5.
Correct.
So Hillary came out in that weekend, 20, 30 delegates ahead? Even though
I think it's like 100.
100 something. It simply amazes me. You talk about the disenfranchised voter the Democrats keep squawking about. Let's talk about their primary and how you can. What were the tallies in New Hampshire? How much did Bernie beat her by? It was something ridiculous. It was like a 20, 30 point win for Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire. And she walked out with as many delegates as he did because it's stacked against him from the very beginning.
Yeah, he won 60% of the vote to her 38%.
I think she came out 1 delegate ahead of him.
I think she did too. I mean, I just Googled it and they're just showing regular delegates and they're not showing the super delegates.
Right.
So I think he got 15 delegates and she got 9, but I think when it was all said and done, she got 16.
Yeah, 16 to 15. Yeah.
Well, and it's amazing because I see my friends that are wishfully thinking that Bernie's going to win, and they keep putting out like, these are the real numbers of delegates, and they remove the super delegates because all of a sudden I'm supposed to believe that the Democrat super delegate voters are going to change their minds. Like, do these people not know who they are? Like, Reason put out a really good cartoon that was funny. It was like the super delegates, and it was done with the super friends from the 70s.
Yeah.
And it's like Jimmy Carter is a super delegate.
Yeah.
It's Democrat party hacks. It's retired politicians. It's current politicians. No way, kids. I'm sorry. You guys are done. It's been fun. And you've learned a really good lesson this year about how the media treats candidates they don't like.
That's right. And
even when they're Democrats.
And he's not a Democrat.
Right. He said that he's ran as a Democrat so he could get media attention. And I actually saw something really interesting, and I meant to look it up and make sure it was true because it was a meme. But it was talking about number of Sunday show appearances for each candidate. Guess who's in last place with Sunday show appearances?
Oh, it has to be Bernie, right?
Hillary.
Hillary?
Out of everybody that's still left in the race, Trump was number one. I think he had something like 66, and they included phoning in plus appearing in studio. So it was something like 10 or 11 phone calls and 50 something. Bernie was number two.
Wow.
He's been on the Sunday show something 50 times.
You know, everybody keeps talking about the kind of shit show Cleveland is going to be for the Republicans in the convention. The Democrats?
Philly's going to be on fire.
Oh my gosh. Between the whatever delegates Bernie gets to show up, and he'll have a primetime speech, and then the Hillary, it's going to be like, there's going to be so many freaks in that joint. It's going to be like the scene from Star Wars, the bar scene.
Yes. And then it's going to look like when Luke flies into the Death Star.
Pretty much.
Boom.
You're
Well,
right
you
in the middle of it, right?
I am. I can't wait. I'm just going to hang out in the parking lot, maybe get a nitrous tank or something, sell some grilled cheese. But here's a funny one for you. I bet this is a story that you might have missed. It's from Politico today. Are you ready for this? The case for Vice President Al Franken.
Oh, stop it.
And that's the headline here. Here's the
Stop
lead.
it.
This is not a joke. Hillary needs someone like Franken if she's going to beat Trump. So this is what this genius, let me see which genius over there. Bill Scheer wrote this. With Hillary's grip on the Democrat nomination firm and Trump on track to insult his way to the Republican nomination, Democrats will want their vice presidential choice to accomplish the following. Number one, prevent Bernie Sanders' energized left-wing youth from snubbing Clinton and flocking to the Green Party. 2, protect the Rust Belt from Trump's blustery charms. And 3, navigate an unprecedented media circus dominated by Trump's barrage of taunts. So basically, she needs Triumph the Insult comic might work too. And I mean, he dismisses the idea that, Elizabeth Warren's out, Bernie's out. They won't get on board with her because they can be more effective where they currently are. And, we've been thinking that maybe they would pull one of the Castro twins, not the Cuban ones, the American ones. But she said this person, with Rubio out and Jeb Bush out. I don't know why Jeb Bush all of a sudden became Hispanic. They're like, now the urgency to have a Hispanic vice president is out the door.
He can speak Spanish.
Right. I didn't realize his wife doesn't even speak English.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I've heard that a lot recently. I haven't double checked that, but I'm just going to go with it.
Okay, why not?
Yeah, who cares?
Nobody fact checks us.
No. Let's say she probably has passable English, but so the best choice, I guess, is Al Franken to deal with Trump. It would make it funny.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter the way it used to as far as picking states.
No.
But I mean Minnesota, it's pretty much a lock no matter who they put in for vice president for as far as a Democrat goes. But I mean, look, it wasn't going to be Elizabeth Warren. They're not going to have 2 women on the ticket.
No.
I mean, it would just be too much. Too much. Society couldn't handle it, Tracy.
Definitely not. Women. I couldn't handle it. Can't handle the amount of demagoguing that would happen and shaming.
Yeah.
That would go on. Plus, she's outside of, the radical left circle that really likes her. I don't think she's sellable to the rest of the country. They're going to look at her and be like, why is that lady telling me I have overdue library books?
Well, they have a picture of her on Drudge right now.
Oh, lovely.
At the top of Drudge. And she's in front of American flags, which is uncommon for a Democratic candidate nowadays.
Oh, you're talking about Hillary, not Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, Hillary.
Okay.
And she looks good. She's wearing a black blazer with a blue shirt underneath it.
She looks okay. I think that picture's not from today.
It probably isn't, but at least it's not, she's not dressed in a muumuu or she's not dressed like a nun or an orange jumpsuit that she's worn recently in debates and stuff. I mean, she looks good. She's looking away from the camera like she's looking into the toward our future, not the past, Tracy Connors.
She's rather steely-eyed.
Yes. Yes.
And she does look like she should smile, but
they're going to have a difficult time. There aren't too many names out there on the Democratic side that would excite people, to be vice president of the United States. It may very well be Al Franken. I mean,
well, they could also dip into the celebrity pool now.
It's true.
There are plenty of those.
Ben Affleck.
I mean, any of those hags from The View would be happy to do it. Yeah, Batman. Why not? He's a genius. He cares. Matt Damon, too.
Yeah.
Hey, she just had a fundraiser with George Clooney. He's been to Darfur. I mean, come on.
Well, he has more foreign policy experience than Donald Trump at that point.
He does. Maybe he's even been shot at when he landed in Bosnia. Who knows?
No, but they don't have it. Look, we've talked about this for a while now. They do not have a deep bench over there.
No.
They really don't. I mean, what are they going to do? Are they going to, they could do what, Bob Dole did and bring back a name from the past. Nobody thought that he was going to bring Jack Kemp back.
Right.
I mean, thinking, how old's Richard Gephardt?
Oh, God.
Bring Dick Gephardt.
That's right.
Bring him on the ticket. I don't know how old he is, but, Gary Hart's probably too old.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Really
Tom Harkin.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, they in that Politico piece, they mentioned Cory Booker, but they immediately discount him because he said that Barack Obama should stop picking on Romney's entrepreneurial side. Like, that was disgusting. He didn't like that attacking. And they're like, that's not going to fly for Democrats this time around. I'm serious. Like, they discounted a whole bunch of people that voted for the TPP. So, they're pretty screwed. I don't know who the heck else you can bring in. But it's going to be great. And they screwed themselves because I think you agree with me on this, that Tulsi Gabbard is a star. Like, that chick could actually be our first female president. She's the one from Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
That was the DNC vice chair that walked away. She's like, you guys are a bunch of corrupt hacks and I'm going to go help Bernie Sanders, even though she's nowhere close to him on the ideological spectrum. But she would have been a great vice presidential candidate.
Well, I'm throwing out the name Dick Gephardt. And
Okay.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
He's from the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Missouri, Tracy. Missouri.
Okay. Which they don't say there, by the way. But
Missouri. And he's 75.
Ooh.
So 75. Standing next to Hillary Clinton?
Maybe they could bring Howard Dean back.
Oh, honestly.
Why not?
How old's Howie?
I don't know, but it made me think Dennis Kucinich. But he probably would never go near her because he's actually serious about his anti-war stances.
Howard Dean is 67.
He's younger than her?
Yeah.
Hot damn.
I think that's a good pick.
Why not?
I think you're onto something. Howard Dean. We should start tweeting that out right now.
Howard Dean for VP.
Yeah, he'll appeal to the youth.
You want to get attacked by the Bernie Bros? We got to let this play out a little while.
Oh, there's no way she's.
No, you know what? You know what? If they could get her to do it, Oprah Winfrey.
Oh my God.
That would be it. I don't think that she would ever go for it, but I don't know. I mean, did you see that Weight Watchers? She went and became that Weight Watcher spokesperson, and I think she bought a chunk of the company or something like this.
Hillary?
And they've no. Oprah.
Oh,
Oprah's actually lost weight over time.
Oh, you want to hear my Oprah?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be vice president.
That's spot on. I mean, she's the celebrity that could be the counterbalance to Trump. She's the antithesis of him, just in the way that she carries herself and her public persona.
Yeah.
And that could be I think it would be her only saving grace. Because I don't believe them when they say, Hillary's going to pull the same amount of the black vote that Obama did. No way is she getting upwards of 90%. No, it's not happening. But if you got Oprah, maybe.
What about Anastasia?
Who?
Who was the evil woman on The Apprentice?
Oh, Omarosa?
Omarosa.
Oh, she's stumping for Trump.
Oh, is she?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Oh, she's the spokesperson for his campaign. She's forever getting in fights on TV, protecting him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Howard Dean's on the short list.
Who else? I mean, the only other one that I can think of that's probably on the list is Terry McAuliffe, just because he's a good buddy of theirs.
Oh yeah.
But what does he get? I mean, maybe Moonbeam's on there too.
But Moonbeam's 78.
Right? Yeah. But if they think that California could be in jeopardy, I mean, I was looking at the Real Clear Politics polls. Trump's ahead. Trump is polling at 53% in New York.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the Republican primary, but still. So if you're going to put New York in play, California might be in play. So they might think, we need California so badly. We're willing to take this old bag of bones.
He's so behind right now in most of these polls, 10, 12 points in some of these polls.
Yeah, I don't buy it. Reagan was behind by 30 points, I think, this time against Carter. I mean, there's so many unforeseen things that could happen. And you have to remember, too, that we're the ones that are involved in this part of the process. Yeah. Most people haven't tuned in. And when we get to the fall, and if it's Trump and Hillary debating, and it's just the two of them, nobody else manages to get on stage. So say the Green Party and the Libertarian Party lose their lawsuit. I don't know, man.
I'm telling you, one of two things I believe will happen. One, women will fall in line, and especially the younger women, and you know, the ones that are supporting Bernie right now, but and say they'll never support Hillary, but the pull of being part of history. Oh, we could be a part of history. We could be part of history. Put the first woman in office. I think that could happen, and that will push her way over the top. Or the other thing that could happen is you're going to have Trump behind 9 points, 8 points in the polls because people are scared to come out and say that they're Trump supporters. And then once the election actually happens, people either who said they were going to vote for Hillary or said they were undecided are actually going to vote for Trump. And then you may have a surprise on election day.
That's possible. And I mean, there's still a chance that Cruz pulls this off. I don't know. I mean, there's some delegate shenanigans going on right now. I
think that that's what you need to look for. I really believe that Trump is going to have to win. He's going to have 100 or more delegates above what he needs to qualify to get the nomination before he can feel somewhat comfortable. Because I think if it's close, say if he's only like 30, 40 delegates over, I think that... Oh,
sure. That's what Kerry told us last week.
Yeah. I think that you're going to see some shenanigans.
You want to hear some fun stuff that's going on in Pennsylvania?
Sure.
So the big money guys and the one guy, I'm not going to name him, but he's a jerk. And I believe he's a felon. He's a state committee man. He might even be the state chair. So he's already a delegate, right? This is how this works. Mm-hmm. He's doing a little fundraiser for guess who?
This is a delegate already?
Well, he's a state committee man. He's an RNC guy, Pennsylvania RNC.
He's doing a fundraiser for Kasich?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's downtown. I was like, I might want to swing by that venue because I can get in there. And I just want to see who else is in that room. And why are you spending money on this? Like, if you have money that you just want to throw away like that, just give it to me.
Right?
I'm serious. I'll vote for John Kasich if you pay me. I mean, come on. They really want to stop him. And there was some ridiculous poll that's been floated around by the local committee, my county committee, that showed they did some internal polling and Kasich's polling ahead of Trump in our county. It's like, great. Who cares? I live in a suburb of Philadelphia. The rest of the state is pretty much blue collar.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of, you got Pittsburgh, which who cares? They live, 20 miles from Ohio. Does that mean that they like John Kasich? No, you're talking like steel workers, coal guys, natural gas guys. No way. If you look at the electoral map of Pennsylvania after every election, it's like a pocket of blue around Philly, a pocket of blue around Pittsburgh, and then the rest of the state is red.
Look, if they really wanted to stop Trump, they would be pushing Kasich out the door right now and
absolutely
all their support behind Cruz, all the people who had won delegates. They would, try to. I don't know how that works. if they
Well, the
can commit their
delegates,
delegates to a candidate once they drop out. I don't know. Or
well,
if
it's
they're on their
different.
own
It's
free
different
will.
for every state, but I
Yeah.
know the way our delegates work, we get 3 per district, per congressional district, and you vote on them. And so my idiot congressman, who I loathe, he's running to be a delegate. And he straight up told our committee, like, I'm only bound to vote for whoever won our state on the first ballot. And then I'm going to do whatever our state party decides. And I was just like, excuse me, what? No, I'm not voting for him. I'm just not. There are only 3 people on the damn ballot, and that's how many come from my county. Like, I'll vote for the other 2. I know them, and I know that they won't pull crap like this, but I'm just going to write my own name in. Screw you, dude. You're already getting a $170,000 salary to sit on your ass and vote for the reauthorization of the Import-Export Bank. Screw off. No way. Yeah, I'm only bound on the 1 ballot. And then that's the end of it. Damn you guys and what you all voted for in my district. I'm just going to go with whatever my state party chair says I should do. Independent thinkers.
All right, it's time for Ashe Kickin' with our good friend from the Washington Examiner and New York Observer, Ashe Schow. Hi, Ashe.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
I could not be better. Thanks for asking. Let's talk a little bit about some of the stories that you wrote this week for the Washington Examiner. Apparently, we have an update regarding the Rolling Stone rape case. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so the girl who was proven to have faked the whole thing, right? Like, it came out that the man she accused, the guy she named Haven Monahan, doesn't even exist. The photo she gave to her friends was a photo of an old high school classmate who didn't even know her, and she used an internet text voice service or whatever to use fake cell phone numbers to make it seem like he was a real person, all to get the affections of this one dude that she just was crazy about, right? So we all knew that. But after the story broke and it was all faked and the police said there was no evidence to suggest that anything she said was true, Rolling Stone is getting sued by one of the associate dean of students in UVA, who was the only kind of named villain in the story, Nicole Aramo. And Aramo and her lawyers are trying to depose the rape hoaxer known as Jackie. And so they're trying to get more time with her because the judge only gave them like 7 hours, which you think is a lot of time, but they have to share it with Rolling Stone, who also wants to depose Jackie. And they're already said that they were going to take up at least 4 hours. And so Aramo's lawyers want more time so that they can talk to Jackie. And Jackie, naturally, does not want to talk. She wants the motions quashed. And if the judge does allow it to go forward, then they don't want her to be asked anything about the sexual assault, the central claim in this entire defamation story. And also, Jackie's lawyers are claiming that the reason they don't want her to talk, and especially not about the sexual assault allegations, is because she's a victim of sexual assault and it would be traumatic for her. Here's a girl proven to have made this whole thing up, still insisting she is a sexual assault victim.
So she's traumatized by the non-existent sexual assault.
Right. Basically, like, can you be traumatized by something that didn't even happen?
I just don't understand, Ashe. I mean, why hasn't she just committed herself to avoid all of this? Is that even possible at this point? Like, if she did that, was just like, look, guys, I'm nuts. Everybody knows that I'm nuts. I'm just going to put myself away for a little while, that this would just go away? Or,
well, clearly she doesn't know she's nuts because she's trying to maintain that she's a victim. She doesn't think, like, it's all of us that are wrong. There's like, I used it today in a joke on Twitter, but there was that episode of The Simpsons where Bart plays hooky and Principal Skinner is coming after him, and he goes through all the Ferris Bueller things and is basically like, why isn't Bart at a museum or at an arcade or like Ferris Bueller was, right? He's looking around and he's just like, am I so out of touch? no, it's the children who are wrong. And that's basically like this whole mentality where it's like, is Jackie out of touch? No, it's all of us who are wrong. She's a victim. We're the ones who are wrong. Facts and evidence. That's what's wrong.
So who's footing her legal fees? Do we have any idea?
Who knows? I'm not sure whether she's paying for it. She probably has. I mean, you claim you're a sexual assault victim,
right?
You probably have some access to some pro bono attorneys that just want to help you. And again, she's not named in the lawsuit. She's not being sued. So I'm not sure how that works attorney wise, because
I'm getting sick and tired of how it seems like these women who make these allegations, whether it's the mattress girl that we talked about last week, from Colombia, and now this gal here, can seem to make these allegations and nobody ends up suing them.
Right. No, it's incredibly annoying but the thing is, you make an accusation so obscene and it gets so much attention, you kind of make yourself untouchable because the media stands behind these women. Like, there's still women in the media who claim something must have happened to Jackie, because a woman would never make something up like this, and if she did, well, oh my God, something bad must have happened to her, because there's no such thing as a terrible woman, no such thing as a lying woman. A man did something in order to set her off that way. Like, there's always some excuse for bad behavior on women.
You'd think they'd be able to enter into evidence every episode of the show Catfish to disprove this.
Well, not only that, but there was like that whole email that fake guy Haven Monahan sent to her friend that was actually cribbed from an episode of Dawson's Creek.
That's right. Well, Haven Monahan even sounds like he should have been a character on Dawson's Creek.
Right.
He was like the transfer student that came in junior year and threw Jen and Joey were then fighting over him.
Right. Yeah. They always have these wonderful names on these shows, but
well, it's just a tired narrative that women would not lie about being raped when you have women that are capable of killing their own children and stuffing them in the trunk of their car.
Sure,
but they're not. Women aren't capable of lying about rape.
Well, my favorite question is like, why would you want to be like a victim of this? So it's like, no. They don't want to be a victim of this. They want the sympathy and attention that comes with being a victim of this without having to go through the actual trauma of it. That is a pretty sweet position to be in.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with any of the actualities of what that would be like. You just get to make up a story and everybody feels bad for you, and it gets in Rolling Stone.
Right.
So I'm curious, why is Rolling Stone wanting to depose her too?
That one I'm not clear on, but I think it's kind of because Rolling Stone's being sued. So if I were them, I would probably want to talk to her to figure out what she said in order to con our author. Right. What did you say to get us to believe you? And also she was giving different accounts where some people reported that she had told the Rolling Stone author Sabrina Rubin Erdely that she would stop talking if Erdely tried to contact the accusers. Other people reported, or she apparently told other people, she made no such demands. So if you start to depose her and she's giving sworn testimony, you can kind of clear these things up.
That makes some sense. I just wonder if it's an issue because I assume they have insurance against this kind of thing. Like, everybody's talking about like Gawker and they probably have a certain amount of insurance that'll protect them in this Hulk Hogan thing. But I wonder if that's the case. They have to just be like, this chick was such a good con artist that we fell for this. And so we're protecting our own ass. And that's why we need 4 of the 7 hours.
Yeah, no, it's definitely along those lines.
Well, the other thing that's disturbing about this whole thing too is, going back to how she's not getting sued. The other thing that bothers me about this is that, we brought this up before we brought you on. A lot of people act like Google doesn't exist. it would only take the judge about 7 minutes of research to find that this woman has been lying consistently about what happened, and yet he's treating her, or she is treating her, like a rape victim.
Right. Well, we don't know what the judge is going to do when it comes to the deposition. We haven't gotten that response
but
back.
But to only give out 7 hours?
Well, that's an actual like allotted time. That's not like the judge set those 7 hours. That's a regular amount of time that's usually given.
Oh, okay. I thought this was by the judge's orders that they're only going to allow her to be up there for 7 hours to be questioned. No, okay.
But we don't know what the judge... Now, a judge did order her previously to turn over any and all communications, which her and her attorneys had at that time, again, been like, oh, she's a victim. You don't want her to turn these things over. And the judge was like, turn it up. Like,
yeah,
give it
nothing
here.
happened to her.
Right. Like, and like the claim that it was like somehow privileged between the student, associate dean of students, not a licensed therapist, not, like you weren't going there for therapy, not privileged communication.
Right. And the dean is saying it's cool to look at it, right? She's the one that's the named defendant in all of this, right? Or she's this is a civil suit, obviously. So she's one of the parties and she's suing for this. So she's like, I don't understand what part of their communication the dean doesn't have.
Yeah, that is one thing that I'm concerned about. I think like the dean might have all this stuff. Maybe a server was out or whatever, see what Jackie has. But the other communications is that Jackie has to turn over all of the communications between not only her and Aramo, but between the author of the article and anyone at Rolling Stone relating to the accusation.
Well, you think Rolling Stone would force their people to turn over all their stuff too?
Yeah, but they're being sued. They don't want to turn it over.
I see.
You're both women.
Uh-huh.
And
Maybe.
I understand women less than every man on the face of the planet combined. So let me ask you this question.
We know.
Yeah.
We know.
Is it common for women to come up with elaborate, strange, outrageous hoaxes to somehow garner the favor of a man that they have a crush on? Is this typical behavior, or just taken to the extreme because we're throwing rape involved in it?
Have you not seen Clueless?
No. No, I'm not.
I'm saying, like, I think that every woman might have done something crazy when they really liked a man, but I think men do crazy things for women. But does it rise to the level where you're publishing where you're creating a fake human being to like then message somebody? Not usually. Not usually.
Now this is extreme.
So that at no point could a typical sane woman read this story and say to herself, yeah, I could see doing that.
No.
Okay.
No.
Just making sure.
No, this bitch is cray. Like if she was what I've run up against women like this before.
Oh,
and you're just like, oh, wow, you're nuts. And once you figure that out, you just walk away from them. And you wouldn't be surprised if they turned up in a story like this, though.
But you hear this on campuses so often, like women who tell a guy that they're fighting with, like an ex-boyfriend, current boyfriend, that they're going to accuse them of rape. Oh. And then what they do. So I heard the story from a young man's father who this girl, ex-girlfriend, had bipolar disorder and was screaming at him, and he was trying to get out of the apartment to get away from the situation, and she's blocking the door, screaming at him. So he kind of like just puts his hands on her shoulders to just move her out of the way of the door. He doesn't hit her, he doesn't grab her, he's just get her out of the way so he can get away from the situation. I don't know, it's like a few hours later, he's being surrounded by police and getting picked up. The woman claims that he punched her in the face. She went after he left, put brown eyeshadow on around her eye, and took a photo saying she just got punched in the face, and look at the bruise, it's already left, brown. And then like they sent me the photo, and it's very clear that it is not a bruise. It doesn't look like a bruise at all. It's splotchy.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that women come up with fake bruise photos and put them on the internet?
Yep.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Because like the police actually photographed her like a day later to get a report. There's nothing on her eye. Like nothing.
It's a miracle.
Yeah.
No, do you know how fast you can put a fake black eye on?
Yeah, and
No,
she
I'm
didn't even do a
serious.
good job. She used brown eyeshadow. Like it wasn't even close to being. But the school, in order to get rid of him because of, campus pressure and whatever,
Sure.
They provided that photo in the as evidence, but they put it out in black and white so you couldn't see just how fake it was.
Wow. Jeez. No wonder men are going to college at lower rates than women these days.
You can't trust anybody. Like it's just the schools are telling women that they're going to be raped. So women have it in their minds that that everything is rape, and they're just looking to get back at any man that they can.
This is horrible.
Because there's no consequences. Schools have even put out that like was it? I think it's Michigan. I just wrote about it last week. That they believe all reports are made in good faith. So it's just like, make a report. We'll believe you. We'll never like prosecute you for a false accusation.
Sure. And I wonder what kind of slack your professors cut you too. On top of this, there
was a case at a school, I believe it was in Ohio, just a couple of weeks ago, where the girl was going to get expelled for poor grades, and she gets told that she's going to be expelled. 2 days later, she accuses a guy she had slept with like a year or so earlier of sexual assault. And then all of the accommodations for Title IX kick in, and she can't get kicked out of school now because she's a victim and it was her trauma that led to this.
This is so infuriating.
It is. It's absolutely insane. And the courts aren't doing almost anything to help these kids because the schools create these horrible policies that allow for this. And as long as the school follows that horrible policy, then the courts don't do anything. Because it's going to take we talk about the horribleness of activist judges, but it's actually going to take a somewhat activist judge to stand up and be like, no, this is absurd and unfair, and you're not allowed to treat people like this.
Well, I just have to wonder, between this stuff and the insane tuition costs, how much longer is academia going to exist as we know it?
Well, you can't, because like you've got tuition going up, you've got kids who don't know basic history, basic math, and yet they're sitting there complaining about a lack of diversity in their teachers or chalk on the sidewalk being traumatizing to them. And it's just like, what's the point of sending somebody to higher education when they're not learning anything?
I really don't know at this point why any college age man would go to a university when they could just take classes online. I really don't. I mean,
that's it. You take classes online, or you follow Mike Rowe's advice and you do a trade school. You'll definitely have employment. You'll have a good, steady paycheck. You're not going to make millions, but you can make upwards of $100,000 from a trade program, and you go take that to anywhere in the country, and you make that money, and you can have like a 3-4 bedroom house in the suburbs.
Sure. And your job can't be outsourced.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have like free time or whatever. So unless you're going to college for a technical degree and you're definitely set on that path. I mean, you think about what you really want out of life. Do you want, to have a simple life with, a wife and kids and to be happy and low stress? Then why would you go to college for a high stress job in a big city where you can't afford to live?
Well, and then there's so many useless majors out there. I've got a couple of friends who graduated with anthropology degrees and $70,000 in student loans.
And they're bitching, right?
Well, you know what they did? They went back to school, and now I've got 2 friends that did that, and they're nurses. And then, and now they're going to probably spend the first 10 years of being a nurse paying off the what would be a house payment for everyone else. That's what their student loan is. It's that much. It's crazy.
And now, I don't know when your friends did this, but nursing, so many people want to be nurses. It's an insanely competitive degree now.
Mm-hmm. But it's only 2 years, I believe.
They have a
Yeah, but just trying to get into that.
Sure.
I mean, it's damn near impossible now.
Be a plumber.
Right.
Everybody, you kids out there, get into
Be
plumbing.
a plumber, an electrician, a welder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mechanic.
These jobs aren't going away. They pay well. And, you can work 9 to 5, go home.
Right. Leave your work there, too.
Yeah, you don't have to be stressed.
No, and anybody that looks down on you is an asshole that's got $100,000 in debt for an anthropology degree.
Exactly.
Well, we have one more story we wanted to talk about. I think, Tracy, you have it pulled in front of you, don't you?
I do. Let's talk about this crazy New Jersey and their gun laws.
Oh my God. New Jersey has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. They're insane. The reason that Cam Edwards from NRA News knows me is from years ago when I wrote about Shanine Allen, who was a young single mother who was taking her children into Atlantic City. She did have her legally owned firearm in the glove compartment. She didn't think about it that she had it in there because she didn't use it. She just had it for protection because she had been robbed twice in the past year. So she bought it to protect her and her children. She had it in her glove compartment. She's going to Atlantic City with her children. She gets pulled over because I guess she didn't signal when she switched lanes. So she gets pulled over. She politely informs the officer that, you know what, I do have a firearm, and then she immediately gets arrested and faced 4 years in jail because the prosecutor in Atlantic City decided he's going to throw the book at this young mother of 2. This is the same prosecutor. So there's this first time offenders program that she could have been into because she had no prior, arrest issues. The prosecutor decides not to allow her into that program. This is the same prosecutor who allowed Ray Rice into that program, even though there was footage of him dragging his fiance out of an elevator. So you can just see the kind of double standard or mentality of this prosecutor. So there's a lot of backlash. He eventually says he's going to review it after people start reporting about, how he let Ray Rice off, but not a young mother of 2.
Right. And she got thrown in jail, right away.
Right.
I feel like she was in jail for 50 days or something.
Yeah, I think she was able to bail out or recognizance how it worked. But anyway, eventually Chris Christie pardoned her, more than a year after her arrest and her constant threats of being sent to jail and losing her children. She lost her job. Which again, single mother of 2, just no concern whatsoever for the human aspect here. Well, here we have another story that's not as heartbreaking as as far as I know, he's not a father, but he is a New Jersey actor. So small-time actor, comedian by trade, has a small part in a low-budget film, and he plays the bodyguard of a drug dealer, right? And so they're filming a car chase scene in a residential neighborhood. He has an airsoft gun that doesn't even have the sound in it. They were going to put the sound in later. But anyway, some residents see him driving through the neighborhood, shooting what looks like a gun, even though there's no sound, right? And they call the cops, which I don't begrudge them that, right? If you see somebody who's hanging out the window of a car looking like they're shooting a gun, it doesn't matter whether you hear anything, that's what you see. You call the cops. That's fine. But the police ended up coming out and arresting him, and he faces 10 years in jail for firing a prop pellet gun. Because in New Jersey, you have to have a permit for everything, even a non-lethal airsoft gun like what he was using. And the reason he faces 10 years is because he does have prior felony convictions for theft and burglary. But fine, he did some bad things in the past. But being sent away for 10 years over a fake gun when there was clearly no intention to kill because he couldn't have because it was a fake gun.
Right. No, this is crazy to me. And I was thinking, like, whose fault is this? And I look at this from a filmmaking perspective. If they were filming a high-speed chase in the neighborhood, they would have already had to have told the neighbors about this. So somebody along the lines dropped the ball and should have said, hey, we're going to be doing this high-speed chase and somebody's going to be hanging out the window with a gun. And maybe they did that. And this was just, you can't get to every neighbor. Sometimes you have to leave a note and they don't read it. But this is nuts. You're talking about a plastic fake gun.
Right. Well, and that's exactly what his name is, Carlo Goyes. And that's exactly what he said about, he's like, Robert De Niro doesn't ask Martin Scorsese if he has gun permits. We're actors. That's for the production company to worry about.
Right.
So, I mean.
No, he's absolutely right.
Like, how is it supposed to be on him? Because he was filming this, he should have known. And like you said, maybe they did figure it out, maybe they didn't. But I mean, and this is just the latest example of New Jersey, because even after Shaneen Allen, there was a corrections officer who had gotten arrested. And he was charged for bringing his gun into New Jersey without a permit, even though he had a legal permit in Pennsylvania. Raymond Hughes, he's a correction officer. He was charged with it after he was hit by a drunk driver while returning home from Atlantic City with his wife. So the responding officer comes. Raymond Hughes informs the officer of the firearm and was charged. And he faced 3.5 years in prison. The charges were dropped a month later because they finally figured out that they never would have found the gun had he not been the victim of a crime, being hit by the drunk driver. And it's just like, that's just how ridiculous it is. There's just no thought to it because they're so strict.
No, and these cops do have discretion. Like, I know
they're not using it.
Right. And Christy gets a lot of blame for it, and deservedly so. Like, the Shaneen Allen thing was unbelievable to me. I actually got to meet her, and she's like the nicest, sweetest woman. Like, nothing threatening about her at all. Very soft-spoken. Right. And she was terrified because she had been robbed a number of times and did this to protect herself and her little kids. And it's just stunning to me. Like, the state just railroaded her. Those cops on the scene could have let that go and just been like, oh, she doesn't know our laws. And yes, they're different. And yes, she's broken them, but she's not doing any harm. She showed them immediately her carry permit, which she got living in the city of Philadelphia, which is almost impossible. And she was just trying to do the right thing. And all of a sudden, you're in jail for 50 days. And wasn't it, am I right in this, Ash? I think it was the NRA that paid for her lawyer.
I think they did have something. The NRA was really huge on this story.
Well, it was a scandal. And New Jersey should have acted immediately to change these stupid laws, because I can't tell you how many people from Pennsylvania definitely are crossing the border not realizing what they're driving into. I mean, the NRA should throw up billboards all across the border and just be like, hey, leave your guns in PA, because if you bring them in here, you're done.
And especially in Atlantic City, because so many of these people are getting, like, the corrections officer and Shaneen were both caught with it in Atlantic City. And it's that prosecutor there, John McClain, who is just out to get people for this. The Goyas, they were in a residential neighborhood, not in Atlantic City, I believe.
But was it Atlantic County? Because it's a big county down there.
I think it was. But it's that area. Like, I don't hear about these things happening, and maybe I just haven't noticed them, but I don't hear about them happening in, like, North Jersey, right? Like, it all seems to be Atlantic County, which, granted, that's where people from out of state go. So, but Goyas, again, wasn't a real gun, so it didn't even matter. So it's insane that this is still happening after Shaneen Allen.
Right. And Chris Christie had the balls to run for president, and nobody asked him about this.
Yeah. Nobody asked a lot of questions. All anybody wanted to ask was, what do you think of Donald Trump?
Right.
What do you think of what Donald Trump said today?
It's just crazy to me that you can't come from out of state and go to Atlantic City and have a gun with you. Because I don't know if you've been to Atlantic City.
I have.
Ever. It's terrifying there. It's like some of it looks like third world. Once you get away from, if you go a block out of that boardwalk, which my family and I did accidentally, right? And you're just like, oh,
and you're just like, I've never heard of these restaurants.
How do we end up in Mexico City?
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
then the only way you get through it is being like, I recognize this all from Monopoly. Let's find the Monopoly places. And that's how we'll find our way out of here, by using Monopoly.
Just get back to the ocean.
Yeah.
Back to the boardwalk.
Oh my God. Where's the reading railroad?
I can't help but going back to that story, just how in 2016, you know, it happened long ago, the death of common sense. I can understand if this guy were driving through a neighborhood and he wasn't part of a movie and he was playing games with a fake gun, you know, and scaring neighbors, getting arrested.
Sure.
But taking this to another level, cops show up and see that this is part of a movie, and I'm sure once you get arrested, they run your record.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they take your information. Once they see that this could really, really do a lot of harm to this man. I mean, this isn't just we're making an arrest here, and this guy could get in a little bit of trouble. I mean, we're talking 10 years. You would think that they would look at the circumstances and just be like, oh, you know what, this isn't worth it.
Right. Well, we're saying they have discretion.
Yes.
They absolutely do. And now that you just had me thinking about what this must have looked like and knowing what it looks like to film a car chase. There's either a follow vehicle with a camera mounted on it with a whole bunch of crew people in it, or there's going to be cameras on the side of the car, or both of those things. So it should have been obvious to anybody peeping out the window and seeing this dude that he was being filmed.
Yeah.
So now I'm taking back that the neighbors are being too nosy aspect of this. Screw those guys. It's very obvious when a car chase is being filmed. It doesn't look like a police chase. There's going to be a huge camera mount on the car, a whole bunch of people hanging off of it.
Do we know that for sure? I mean, this is an independent film. Who knows?
Yeah,
what
right. But I've worked on low budget films that have done these things, and you either build what's called like a hostess tray. So think about the old school drive-ins, or like the restaurants where they would skate up and give you your food and put it on a tray. So there's something called a hostess tray where they would mount a camera on the side of the car to shoot in and capture the action happening in the car. But if there would probably either be a lead car following with a camera mounted on it. So it's going to be some big rig that they're going to put there. Even if this is low budget, this is how you're going to do this. It's going to be obvious. You're going to see a camera and a whole bunch of crew people, because they're not just strapping a camera to a car and letting it go. There's going to be a couple people there with safety, harnesses and stuff like that on the camera and on themselves. It should be really obvious what it is.
Yeah. But
unless they were using like a drone cam. That could be the only thing. And then maybe they didn't notice the drone, because those aren't that expensive.
Well, we'll give you the last word, Ash.
I mean, this whole thing is ridiculous. Like, you see the death of common sense on college campuses. I mean, it's just getting so absurd that just every day I start my work being like, what are these idiots going to do today? Like, what is the crazy new thing that's going to be said today?
Follow Ash on Twitter at Ashe Schow. You can catch her work at the New York Observer and the Washington Examiner. Ash, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Talk to you then.
Enough already!
Okay, joining us right now, CNBC's Carol Roth. You can catch her new show, America's Greatest Makers, coming soon to TBS. Carol, how are you?
I am doing amazing. How are you guys?
Fantastic. Well, first off, I mean, congratulations on this new gig. Tell us a little bit about America's Greatest Makers.
So I couldn't be any more excited to be part of America's Greatest Makers, which is a technology competition show that has 24 teams of innovators, people who saw a problem and wanted to create the solution to fix it with technology. And they are competing week to week for a $1 million prize. And I am one of the judges. It is produced by Mark Burnett, which you may know from Shark Tank, Survivor, The Apprentice, The Voice. So I always call them sort of the Ivy Leagues of unscripted programming. And I am one of the permanent judges, along with the CEO of Intel, Brian Krzanich. Kevin Pereira from True TV, and then we have a rotating celebrity judge every week. So we've got Shaquille O'Neal, we have Mayim Bialik from Big Bang Theory, we have Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, and it's a really great, fun show because you get to see innovation at work. You get to see cool new products that could change your life, and you get to see people who can create jobs in the future with their new enterprises and products. So it's pretty exciting all around.
Technology. So internet radio, would that have been considered something that could have been on the show? Tracy, we may have missed out on $1 million.
Damn. Well, if you figure out how to use the Intel Curie module in addition with the internet radio to solve a problem, maybe you can apply for season 2.
Now, Carol, is there any mentorship aspect to this? Because that's kind of how The Voice works. So
Yes.
do you get to help these guys become actual decent entrepreneurs?
No, I just get to give my opinions on things. They get a ton of mentorship along the way from Intel, who obviously is in a very good position to be able to provide that mentorship along the way. And what's really nice about the maker community is that it really is a community. So not only are they getting the mentorship from Intel, but they're also getting it from the community and the other contestants who are working there. So even though it is a competition, it's a very friendly atmosphere. And depending on what stage they make it to, they may get $10,000 plus a mentorship, or if they make it to the final 5, they get $100,000 plus mentorship. And the winning team wins that $1 million prize and the title of America's Greatest Makers.
Damn. Now, did they each get a copy of your fabulous book, which I read last week in prep for this? And I thought, my God, I wish I had had this when I was 20 and thought I could start a T-shirt company.
Thank you. Well, the Entrepreneur Equation is not part of the prize package, but it is widely available for them anywhere. And if they do win that $1 million prize, they can buy several copies of it.
Now, have you come up with any kind of catchphrase like "you're fired" or something that we should be looking forward to?
It's very interesting because you guys know me well, and I have a very multifaceted personality. I'm very tough, but very fair. And I also have a very low threshold for amusement. So I imagine that there's going to be some mix of me asking really smart questions, me cracking up like uncontrollably, and then also potentially being tough. So I think, kind of depending on how they edit it together, I don't know, maybe I end up looking like Sybil, I don't know, with multiple personalities. But I get to bring all of that to bear, which I don't often get to do on CNBC, which tends to be a little bit more straightforward, and sometimes some of my jokes go over everybody's heads. So it's I think a more true representation of me as a personality.
So you haven't seen the final cuts of these episodes?
No, I'm dying to, but Mark Burnett has seen them and is loving them, and he produces such a great quality product. But I could tell you, as we were shooting, just the experience, was so professional and so well done. And it's just such a great show to be able to watch with the family. And our contestants, we have some that are in high school. We've got a 15-year-old. We have 16, 17-year-olds. So it really does give you sort of that hope for the future that, wow, okay, we actually may be in pretty good hands here with the innovation and drive of some of these amazing young folks.
And so I've talked to some people about the show, and they've wondered, how will this affect your role at CNBC?
It should not affect my role at CNBC. I currently plan to be doing both. So unless something were to shift right now, I am doing Greatest Makers Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Pacific time. And CNBC, I remain on Wednesdays from 4 to 5 Eastern time.
Now, how long was the shooting schedule for the Greatest Makers?
These are behind-the-scenes details. I don't know if I can share. But
that's not part of your non-disclosure. I've signed a couple of those in my days.
Yeah. So, I honestly don't even know, because just the way that everything is shot, I don't know how they're going to put everything together. I just know that that we've got 8 episodes in season 1, and I have my fingers crossed that we'll move on to season 2.
And are we in for like a live finale, kind of Survivor style?
You are in for an amazing finale, and I will leave it at that.
Awesome. Now, I just have Mayim Bialik. Is that just because she's on Big Bang, or she has some advanced degree too, doesn't she?
Yes, she's incredibly smart. She's got like a PhD in neuroscience and all kinds of advanced degrees. So she's not just there, as a consumer and portraying her, nerd character, tech-related character from Big Bang. She is, really, really a smart cookie, and she's been very involved in getting women more engaged in STEM, which is, obviously science and technology and engineering and math. So this is a really, really great fit for her, and she's just a sweetheart.
Well, I'm stoked for this show, and you said it starts April 5th, 9 p.m. TBS?
April 5th, 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on TBS. So, coming right up, and then runs for 8 weeks on Tuesday nights.
Got a question about Cuba, Carol.
Don't we all, Fingers? Don't we all? Just one.
How much pressure is the business community putting on the Obama administration to have some sort of relationship with Cuba? Because I'm hearing stories, obviously, that Cuba in a lot of ways doesn't have the infrastructure for a bunch of...
I don't think this is driven by the business community. Right. Whoever that is kind of like Wall Street or Hollywood, those business community people. But if you think about if you're looking at free trade and open markets and like where you want to have more access to, I don't think Cuba's moving the needle for you. I think it's actually a bigger deal for the people of Cuba. I certainly think that them having some level of dialogue and having some sort of a relationship, it does create more entrepreneurial activity, and I'm a firm believer in the free markets and that capitalism provides people the best opportunity to lift themselves out of poverty. So I think that certainly has more of an impact. Maybe Major League Baseball was putting some pressure on. They filled a lot of great players from there. I know that the people who collect classic cars would love to get their hands on some of those, but outside of that, I don't think that it's that tremendous of a market. That being said, I did read that Fidel Castro was not pleased about the president's visit and did this crazy op-ed where he talked about, that everything the president said was sweet talking and we shouldn't really believe him, which doesn't sound that different than a lot of the things that people say in America all the time. Kind of scary and frightening. But, I think it's a good idea to be able to, do anything we can to try and open up some semblance of a more of a relationship there. That being said, I think the timing is extremely odd. The rest of the world's like burning down. I don't know that it's like a top priority, but for all the things that I don't agree with the president on, I would put this in the that's one of his good potential accomplishments. So we'll give him that one.
At this point, the only thing that I could see as far as an economic impact would be, I'm assuming that we're going to start eventually in the near future allowing travel down there. I thought I saw something about Marriott showing some interest in investing in Cuba. Did you see anything about that?
I haven't seen that in particular. I know that they've been embroiled in a bidding war for Starwood with another Chinese company that keeps topping out their bid. So my guess is that they're probably a little distracted right now. But I certainly think that's a possibility. And tourism, would be a huge opportunity for the people of Cuba, and certainly. Whether it be entrepreneurs or big businesses, will have some access and some benefits to doing business. But again, I don't think it's a game changer.
Now, do you think we'll see American franchises open up down there in the very near future? I'm just thinking like McDonald's, Burger King's, KFC's, like what are we going to see? And I know in your book, you talk about people, maybe a first step into the entrepreneurial world is becoming a franchisee.
Well, what's really interesting is that, and I haven't been real close to the Castro regime, so I'm not sure how they're going to go about this, which I know is surprising, but we haven't had a chance to catch up in a while.
They're not in your fantasy league?
Not this week.
He loves TBS, though. You know.
But, I don't know how they're going to go about opening up any sort of level of trade and relationships. What happens in a lot of countries, happens, for example, like in China or maybe in Dubai, is that you need a local partner to be able to go into business there. So if you take, like, for example, Dubai, you have to have a Dubai national who actually is the majority owner of the business. So if you see a Cheesecake Factory or a Shake Shack, or Starbucks, which they have lots of them, those are done in partnership. So it's not a traditional franchise. It's sort of a different relationship, but sort of a co-ownership relationship. So it's very possible that may be the way that they sort of seek to go about changing things. If they do, is where you have sort of these co-ownership relationships where you get somebody in Cuba to be the partner of Starbucks or McDonald's or Papa John's Pizza or whomever it is. But certainly those companies have the experience in going into different markets. They have the systems down pat, which makes it much easier for somebody to start from scratch. So I certainly think that those brands will be leading the charge, if and when that opportunity is made available to them.
But is it even a decent market? I mean, if you look at the per capita income down there, you're kind of like, maybe a McDonald's could make it, their dollar menu, perhaps. But
you have to remember what does the free market do? If you open one up, it creates jobs. Sure. And when those people take those jobs, they make more money. And in making more money, then they get to patronize these businesses. So, it's sort of by bringing those businesses down, they, in effect, have the positive impact on the market and help to create those opportunities and help to lift those people out of poverty. So I certainly think, I don't expect maybe a Rolex dealership to go down there tomorrow, but, some of these other opportunities, other companies and brands are opportunities, to kind of get that market started. And if they can get that started and those people make a little bit of money and they go out on their own, they do something else and they create businesses and they hire people, and then you get the law of the free market going and supply and demand of the labor force, and that's what's going to change things for them in their lives. So, obviously a lot of details to sort out. And again, I'm not unfortunately on the front lines of those discussions, but from a what could happen standpoint, certainly that's an opportunity.
Well, there's also a question too of if the Castros will let private industry stand there.
Right. I think that is literally the $1 million question, right? I mean, it's kind of up to them. But, they could certainly go, about it in the way that, some of the countries in the Middle East and Asia have done it. I think that's probably a likely route.
Well, I just think back on being in Venezuela and going to McDonald's there the one day when a bunch of us Americans got homesick, and there's like nobody in there because nobody can afford it. And I remember ordering French fries. They were out of fries, which you cannot even fathom. They were out of Coca-Cola and ice cream as well.
Out of Coca-Cola?
Yeah, we were just like, this isn't McDonald's. It was a giant shit show. We threw a fit in the place. And we're like, this is why your country sucks. And this is 2000. This is way before Chavez got really cranked up. But it's just amazing how incompetently run places can be, that you just are like, this is so easy. You have French fries, you have Coke, you have ice cream.
All right, let me go on Milton Friedman on you for a second. And I mean, this is exactly why you need to let the free market reign, and why it's so disheartening that in our own country, people are trying to move away from that model. Because if you get these dictators or government structures or whomever out of the way that sets these ridiculous rules, that doesn't allow for the free market, that doesn't allow for people to be able to better their lot. And, we have been very lucky that over a very, short but meaningful period of time that we had that opportunity. But, every year and every decade, we start moving in the opposite direction, which fundamentally makes no sense. If you look, we are the most prosperous country in the world, and people from all over the world try to come here based on that structure, and we're trying to move that in the opposite direction. So hopefully the Castros will figure out that this is a good idea to move in that direction to become a more wealthy nation. But again, power and people having a voice and wealth don't go together very well.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in this country. Particularly,
do we have to?
Oh, it's so much better talking
we're having such a good time. Do we have to?
Well, it is troubling. You bring up Milton Friedman and the free market, and we see today we've got a major presidential candidate on the left proclaiming that he is a socialist, or he tries to pretty it up by saying a democratic socialist. How troubled are you that his message seems to be resonating with a lot of millennials?
I'm as troubled by that as I am by the fact that the front runner on the right is against free trade as well. It's the entire show, shall we say, is just a big puddle of trouble. What is very apparent in this country is that people don't understand economics. They don't understand, what truly benefits them. And they always tend to go the way of, we have a great intention and we don't care if there's sort of a crappy route that doesn't quite get there. The fact that somebody has a good intention doesn't make a difference if the route doesn't match up. And so the fundamental lack of understanding of key principles of what's made our nation so great and so successful, and why people from all over the world are trying to come here by the millions, is completely lost on the very privileged people who live here. I mean, there is no better genetic lottery that you can win than being born as an American. And the fact that the people who are here don't seem to understand, what benefits they have, and consistently think somehow that political power and greed, that it's highly concentrated, is worse than economic power and greed that is, divided up amongst many, many, many people. I fundamentally scratch my head and do what I can do to try and put out pieces of information to educate people, but it is a very, very challenging thing to do, and the misinformation of the masses is just beyond troubling, and it's disheartening to watch people destroy what is, such a great opportunity that, our ancestors worked so hard to create.
Walk me off the ledge here, Carol, because
Wait, walk you off?
I don't know that that's like, if you were trying to pick somebody to fulfill that function, like, I'm really good at a lot of things. I don't know that I'm the person you want to pick for that, Fingers. Like, if you're on the ledge and you're like, hey, give me the good reason, I don't know that I'm the person.
Well, I pretty much unplugged myself from the internet for the weekend or the holiday, and I'm going out to restaurants and stuff. People seem to be spending money on what they typically spend. The restaurants were packed. We joke on the show. You get on Drudge Report, and I think the lead on Drudge every day should just be So I'm feeling good when I'm off the internet, but then I get back on the internet and I'm thinking to myself, what I should be investing in right now? Canned goods. That's what How close are we to some
I
big
call
bubble
it.
where everything's
I
gonna
call
come
this
crashing
the
down?
This is the prepper's portfolio theory. You invest in guns, you invest in gold, and you invest in Campbell's soup, and that's your portfolio if you believe in the prepper's portfolio theory. If you really think things are going down, those are the three things that you invest in. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's always a slow crumble, right? I mean, from a day-to-day standpoint, yeah, things are fine. We're getting by. We all have great quality of life. The challenge is that we continue to chip away at the foundation of the principles of this country and the greatness of this country. And at some point, you're going to just chip enough, and the whole thing falls apart. And it may, frankly, not be in our lifetimes, but it's just frustrating when you see that crumble and you run and you try and like hold the pieces together or stick your finger in the dam or whatever you can do, and then the people around you are just blissfully unaware and they walk by and they just kick some rock in your face. It's just very, very disheartening to see the issue and to realize that everyone else is living the high life and they're very short-sighted and they don't want to do the difficult things, make the difficult decisions, and have that long-term view that is going to preserve things in a very positive way for generations to come.
Well, staying on the little black rain cloud kind of track right here.
This is Carol Roth, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to her podcast.
No, but you got to be
realistic. She's our most uplifting guest. She's great.
No, but people need a little dose of reality, and you're looking at the markets. You're looking at the Fed raised interest rates by the tiniest little fraction of a percent in December? And then the market just fluctuated wildly. Gold's up like $200. And it's just like, are we in a recession? Do we ever come out of a recession? When the hell are they going to admit this? Where does this go? I mean, is this all propping this up so Hillary wins? Because it'll be claimed on the Democrats if they admit that the economy stinks just as bad now as it did in 2007. I mean, what do you think, Carol?
Well, we've talked about this before, this concept that, we are the skinniest kid at that camp. So we are the best of the worst. Things like, it's not anything that you want to go, wow, yeah, like, we're doing really, really well. But, in comparison to what's going on in the rest of the world, like, we're rocking and rolling. So the fact that we're in this sort of sluggish growth scenario makes us very exciting. We're going to get to go to the fat cab prom, and we'll be the prom queen. So congratulations. So it's all relative, I guess. But at some point, I mean, there's so many things that are risky versus not so many things where you're going, yeah, well, if we can just kind of get past this, we'll start moving in the right direction. And that's what concerns me, is between the geopolitical issues, the fact that central banks around the world have just been completely out of control, both in their asset purchases as well as their interest rates. You actually have countries that have a negative interest rate policy right now. You've got countries that have structural issues, like Japan, one of the largest economies in the world, that is not only in negative interest rate territory, but structurally has demographics that is not going to allow them to get out of it, and they've got more debt to GDP than kind of anybody out there. So there's just all of these structural issues that eventually is going to make it very difficult for us to accelerate growth in the face of all of those things. At the same time, when we have a political process that has just gone completely off the rails and is not doing the kinds of things that it can to foster the great growth of yesteryear, frankly. So, the taming of the government beast potentially could give us that impetus and maybe have us withstand everything else that's going on globally. But, I don't see that changing, and I'm not so sure that, everybody else in the world is going to be able to get out of the, issues that they've created for themselves. So, it's just kind of like, well, when's this movie going to end? And we kind of have a sense of what the ending's going to be like, but we just don't know how grim it's going to be. And, that's going to be unfortunate. So I think it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Things always go in cycles. I just think that there hasn't been enough done in this last quote-unquote cycle of prosperity, the slowest recovery that we've ever had, to really put us in a position of growth or to be more fortified to withstand the next time around better. And just, from a government standpoint, the fact that they're creating more people who just don't want to be in the workforce, who are more dependent on welfare, and are less dependent on themselves and investing in, a free market system is just it's a bad shift, for the future generation.
Final question, Carol. Was I right about the Apple Watch?
I don't think that you can say that yet. I mean, they certainly haven't killed it off. There are a lot of people who like it. I think, as I said before, I think it's going to take some time to kind of figure out why it is a need to have it. I can tell you this. My husband actually has the Intel version, which is by Tag Heuer, obviously with our association with America's Greatest Makers and Intel. And at first he was kind of like, yeah, I'm not really sure if I need this. And now he's addicted to it. I mean, he just loves being able to have the notifications and whatnot. So, I certainly think that the whole idea of wearables and the quantifiable self, that is not something that's going to go away. Is that one particular product, going to be the game changer? Maybe not, but I think that there will be more platforms that come out, and it doesn't quite go away. And before I leave, because we can't just end on that note, I will say that I got my Blackhawks playoff tickets today.
Nice.
Oh, hockey.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of hockey.
Yeah, it's only the best sport there is.
Just thought I'd throw that in there because,
Who are the Bears drafting?
Apparently, on Twitter, they're drafting me. That's what a few of my followers somehow I've become a defensive lineman, which I always thought I'd be a better cornerback. But somehow I've gotten put into some mock draft that somebody's doing, and the Bears have chosen me. So looking forward to that.
Well,
and Carol, did we convince you to watch The League yet?
No, what's The League?
That's the TV show that's all about a group of friends that live in Chicago, and they have their own fantasy football league.
And what channel? What channel is that on?
It was on FX. They just finished the final season 7, so all the previous seasons are up on Netflix right now.
I've not known about this for 7 seasons. How is this possible?
I don't know.
You need to make The League a part of your life. It is.
All right.
It is hilarious. Your boy Jay Cutler is in a few episodes with his wife.
And this is the selling point of the show. Have we not met before?
Jay Cutler is a funny guy, Carol.
Yeah, that's I've actually heard that before. So I'm glad he actually is good at something. So good to have skills. But no, I haven't seen that. We're watching the season 4 of The Americans right now, which is one of my faves out there. So if you're not watching that, I highly recommend that. And of course, America's Greatest Makers on CBS.
You can catch Carol in the premiere of America's Greatest Makers, April 5th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on TBS. You can also follow Carol on Twitter at Carol JS Roth. Carol, you have anything coming up here in the next few days on CNBC that people should know about?
I will actually be on Tuesday this week instead of Wednesday, because Wednesday I get to welcome the Prime Minister of Italy to Chicago for the Italian Trade Agency's I3 Innovation Forum. So I have a very busy week this week, but certainly on CNBC, I'm sure we'll be talking more about these global markets, maybe even Cuba. You never know.
That's Carol Roth, everyone. Thank you so much, Carol.
All right. Thanks, guys.
That's it for this week. Our thanks to Ashe Schow and Carol Roth. Music provided by YoPolymusic.com. For all things Enough Already, check out our website, enoughalreadypodcast.com. Look for updates there. Subscribe to the podcast on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and iTunes. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.